Hello and welcome everyone. This is Nitesh Mishra from Federation of Indian Export Organizations, popularly known as FIEO, India's apex trade promotion organization. And you are listening to the Voice of Exports, India's first exclusive podcast for EXIM community. On this podcast, we bring top performers from the sector who not only inspire but also reinvigorate among you to become one of them. Welcome to another episode of Voice of Exports, India's only podcast initiative started by FIEO for its member exporters. Today we have in our program Mr. Nijil N J from White House company, which is into trading of mobile phones and gadgets. Mr. Nijil, a warm welcome to you.
First of all, thank you for inviting us to the podcast of FIEO, and we have been a proud member of FIEO for a very long time, and really excited to participate in it now.
Very first question, tell us something about your company and the products and services into which you deal into.
Right. So White House International was started in 2015, and this is our 10th year in international trading of mobile phones and gadgets. So initially when we started the business in 2015, so we were into import of mobile phones. So we were importing from other countries to India, and we were selling in India. And gradually with the government of India's initiative of Make in India, we got an opportunity to export. So we moved from import to export of mobile phones. So it was a very new market. Made in India products, especially the electronics and gadgets, were not very popular back in that time. So we were one of the first pioneering companies who built the roadmap for the mobile export from India. I mean, merchant exporters, yes. And FIEO have been a very crucial part of our business because over the time, when it's a new, when it's a new industry or a new business model where mobile phones were being exported from India to abroad, we had to face a lot of challenges, especially dealing with the departments, and a lot of questions and a lot of problems were there with the departments and regulatory authorities. So FIEO have been holding hands over the way and guiding us how to get through it.
Talking about the challenges which you are just now talking about, how have you been able to overcome all those challenges?
Right. So we as a company was new to export.
Yeah.
So that time we were not aware about many of the aspects. Let's say the banking, the currency, dealing with different currencies, and then there were challenges with the taxation authorities. Then there was challenges in the customs itself. So these products being very volatile, it comes under a very volatile market case where mobile phone prices can vary on a lot of international factors, and we were competing back in the day. We were competing with the biggest manufacturing market of China.
Yes.
So these products have to reach the market or to the customers at a given time frame. And even though we Indian exporters of mobile phone were new to the market, but that was already an established international trading community or a supply chain where we were trying to be a part of. And all the challenges back end, as we told, especially with clearance, the airport clearance, the clearance which happen at customs and all, these always delay the whole procedure. So basically, it's a funny and interesting topic that the customs authorities were like, why does the mobile phone have to go from India to abroad? It's cheaper abroad.
Okay.
So that is a question which can only be answered with some technical aspects, saying that we have incentives from India, then the B2C prices in India is high because of the taxes, and in export the taxes are cut off, and then the prices will be matching abroad. But the answers from our side most of the time were not enough for the departments to analyze and let our export happen. So that was a very big challenge. So, and the customs department, the employees, the team always changes. So whenever a new team come in, they will have hundreds of questions because they were never used to seeing mobile phones coming in the port for export. So that was one of major challenge.
Yeah. Besides that, in the beginning of your business, did you face any kind of competition from Chinese companies? But now we can see that most of the Chinese companies have their base set up here in India, and most of not only Chinese companies, other companies also.
Right. So when we started export back in 2015, even the Chinese companies have a global dominance on the international market, and along with it, they were dominating the Indian market as well.
Okay.
So it was very few brands which have started making in India, which we were trying to export and find a presence in the global market. So that was the biggest challenge in terms of expanding globally, right?
A follow-up question with regard to the question which I just now asked.
Yes.
What was the price competition which you came across when you are talking about Chinese companies and Indian companies into exports of mobile and gadgets?
So it was not just about price. Price is also a factor, but the products which were the brands which have started making in India, along with the government incentives and supports, were competitive. Indian prices were competitive, and that's one of the reasons we were able to get into the market in the first place. But most importantly, the problem what we have faced back then is that breaking the system already, because Chinese mobile companies had an established network or customer base in the international market, and when a made in India product is coming, we had to convince on every step. We had to convince on the wholesalers, then they have to convince the retailers, and they have to convince the customer that, see, now the mobile phones are being made in India, and it's good, or like there is an opportunity. So building up that initial flow, or like the supply chain, was the toughest part, even though the prices were competitive.
Okay.
Because nobody knew it. It's a very new concept in the world, because nobody knew like mobile phones were made in India. People had a confusion. Okay, it says made in India, but do India have mobile phone manufacturing? Do India have an electronic manufacturing segment? No, that was the biggest challenge initially. Or they had other doubts, like, is the warranty going to be applicable, or are we going to face any other problems in terms of, is it going to be original, or so building up that trust over the year was
Yes.
the one of the biggest challenge, I would say.
Talking about Make in India and Make for the World,
Right.
which is a government initiative started for the trade and industry, how
Yeah.
has it helped?
So Make in India was the driving factor for export of smartphone from India, I would say. So the whole business idea, what we were forgot, the whole business model for us before export was import. So we were into the trade of mobile phones. So we were importing from China to India, and then we were selling. So only after Make in India came into place, we were the prices became competitive, or we were able to sell the products from
Yes.
India to abroad. So the whole business model changed, that we were importing at first, and then we started exporting after Make in India. So that was the breakthrough point, I would say.
Okay.
For our business.
Talking about the current global trends and scenarios,
Yes.
when you talk about tariff wars, when you talk about India's FTAs and BTAs, when you
Right.
talk about trade and global supply chain disruptions, how do you see it as a challenge for your industry and trade? And
Yeah.
how have you overcome in the recent times all these issues?
Right. So recently, it's a very tough period for global trade, I would say. I mean, it's not just India, it's the whole world is going through a very unstable position. So every trade have been affected. I would say definitely our trade also have been affected, but not to a very large extent that it's a threat, because the Make in India products or the mobile phones have a global demand. It goes to every countries in the world. Every country in the world use mobile phones. So yes, we do have face problem towards the western side.
Yes.
But still there is African market, and there are other markets which are still in good relations with India, and who accept the Indian mobile phone, and they have been Indian mobile phones have been supplied to their market for a very long time. So it's going as good as before.
When you talk about the BTA with US,
Yes.
Both the sides have now started coming up with positive statements.
Right.
So when do you expect it to be signed? And what kind of impact do you see after the BTA agreement being signed between India and US?
So what we feel at the moment is that it's a very crucial thing to happen. So this is going to be signed very soon, because India is such a big trade partner for US, and this cannot go on for a very long time. Both the countries have been affected very badly, and this will be taken up in a very diplomatic manner by our government, I feel.
When you talk about diversification of markets,
Right.
recent times it has been the talk of the town for every trade and industry companies.
Yes.
So how do you see diversification of markets initiative which has been pushed forward by the government these days?
Market diversification is very important because otherwise we focusing on only a few markets can always be very bad for the economy because in again we have gone through a very rough patch during the past few years due to the geopolitical situations and globally diversifying is very important and I think we have been more aware about it due to the recent scenarios whatever has been happening in trade. We cannot be focusing on very few markets. That is going to be risky for the whole community.
What are your key learnings from the journey of exports in recent times and in the past also? And what advice would you like to give to companies similar to you or in general looking to export?
Right. So India is a very big market. India is the world's biggest population. India has the second biggest population. India is the second biggest consumption in terms of, or sometimes the first in terms of the lot of things. We have a very good upcoming talented generation as well. So we would always recommend that new entrepreneurs come into the export industry and make it even better because now the pace where India is going and the kind of initiative again with Make in India and all these things, India will be the next world manufacturing hub for sure. Because in mobile industry where I am present, I can say that we have already overtaken China in terms of some of the brands' manufacturing capacity. So this is going to be replicated in many other industries as well. So it's a very good opportunity for the new generation to get into global trade, export from India, and find their own entrepreneurial journey.
One last question, Mr. Nijil. What kind of advice would you like to give to all the mobile and gadget companies which are into this kind of trade?
So for the mobile industry, it's a very fast-growing industry at the moment, and everybody is super excited, and it's at ever time record. So it's a very good time to be in the industry, I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Nijil, for being so open and insightful in your approach while answering the questions. And thank you for joining this podcast initiative.
Thank you. Always happy to be part of FIEO.
Voice of Exports podcast by FIEO aims to provide important information and views on foreign trade, especially on exports, which will help both Indian exporters and importers. Any statements made by an exporter, importer, or an importing company in this podcast as guests reflect the views and opinions of that individual or the company. This podcast does not constitute an endorsement by the FIEO of the individual or the company, his or her or its employer or affiliated entity, the specific information or views provided, resources mentioned, or products or services endorsed or offered by that individual or the company, his or her or its employer or affiliated entity. FIEO assumes no responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or timelines of the information provided by the guest or the company in this podcast, or for the decisions made and reliance on any information provided by the guest or the company in this podcast. We thank you for listening to this episode of Voice of Exports podcast service brought to you by the FIEO. For more information on how you can start exporting, please visit our website www.fio.org.